Hello everybody and welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another PlayStation review. Today's review I focus on Alfred Hitchcock Vertigo, a new game that has been brought to us by Microids. Now Microids obviously is a smaller publisher. I think the only game I can think of that I have certainly played in the past, and there's probably more, is I think they were involved in the Agatha Christie ABC Murders game, which is a game I really quite liked and I have covered on this channel. Now, what is Alfred Hitchcock Vertigo? Well, to many of you out there, it is a movie. Of course it is. It's a movie, a very popular movie that has now actually been turned into a narrative-heavy game. Those of you who out there who like the Telltale type games, this is definitely going to be of interest to you. Anybody else who doesn't like those story-driven games with very little gameplay, this is probably going to be another one for you to avoid, I suppose. It all really depends on what type of gamer you are. If you like these type of stories that you can get involved in, then you're probably going to get a lot out of this game. Now, Alfred Hitchcock Vertigo, this game, it's worth saying straight from the bat, really, that I think it's fair to say this game is loosely based on the movie, I suppose. It borrows more heavily, I would suggest, from the stylistic version of what Alfred Hitchcock is all about and that type of thing. It's not like a shot-for-shot remake of the movie or in any way, shape or form. It kind of loosely follows the beats, I suppose, in some ways. But to be honest, it's a film I don't know particularly well, and it's a long time since I've seen it. It's a little bit before my time, but I understand many regard a lot of Alfred Hitchcock films certainly as classics, as they should. So this film is kind of structured in a way that you kind of are in direct control of three characters. There's a character called Ed, who is an author who we see at the beginning of the game suffers a tragic loss, and he is suffering from vertigo. He can't move from his bed. He needs therapy to kind of get up and move about. So this therapist comes into his life, which is the next character that you control. And she kind of offers him therapy in his room and kind of delves into his memories. And you experience that. So you'll kind of talk to him, hypnotize him, go deep into his psyche, relive those memories, and then relive them again and analyze them to kind of pull the truth from those memories. And then the third character is a sheriff who is investigating initially the crash at the beginning of the game where Ed, this author, claims there is his partner and his daughter in this car, who nobody believes exists. So the idea really is on this game, it's kind of an interweaving, layered story of mystery, and it's a thriller, really, quite a slow-paced thriller, but it's one of those games stroke stories that rewards patience, is what I will say. If you're one of these gamers that wants to go straight into the story and get really drawn into it really quickly and get its claws into you, and you're going to be deeply enthralled, you're probably going to be fairly disappointed. I was decidedly unimpressed with this game the first couple of hours, I think it's fair to say. It was slow-paced. I wasn't interested really in the story. I wasn't that interested in the characters. And on top of that, there's like this weird blend of good voice acting crossed with fairly poor voice acting, and like these weird pauses a lot of the time when people are talking in between sentences. So someone will say something, and then there's like this weird pause before the next character says something, and it's just doesn't help the game in regards to its lack of polish, this game. There's some cutscenes you'll go into, and the ones I can remember specifically is like when you're analysing your memories and you have to relive them to search for clues. Some of them were like darkened, so I couldn't see what I was doing, even though I could hear what the characters were saying. So I had to kind of turn it off and turn it on again to try and get rid of that, which did work. But you're constantly reminded during this game that it does have a distinct lack of polish. I don't think the game looks great, if I'm honest. It's got a certain style to it, how it looks, almost cartoony at times. but it doesn't feel like a PlayStation 5 game, certainly, in regards to how it's presented and how it performs, even though there is a performance mode and a quality mode that you can choose from in the menu. Take of that what you will. I don't think there's going to be much difference whichever one you choose. It's not really going to polish up what is already a fairly unpolished game, I would suggest. So a lot of this will come down to, do you like these type of games? Do you like these story-driven games? Because there is a story here. It's going to take some time to get there and some patience on your heart, on behalf of you. But it is ultimately rewarding because the mystery does actually, the more you play the game, it gets more intriguing as to what's actually going on. The more you analyse his memories, Ed's memories, the more you pull apart the clues and figure out what's going on, the more it gets really interesting. It's just if you've got the patience to get that far. Because it doesn't pander, if you like, to an impatient gamer. And when I say gamer, I say that kind of lightly, I suppose, because the gaming elements here are exactly what you would expect with a Telltale type game. The majority of it is walking around areas, looking for clues, pressing X where you need to, pressing circle where you need to, pressing the buttons in time with this, that and the other. And it's very light in the gameplay department, as you would expect with a game like this. So it's very light in that aspect. It's very, very strong in its storytelling. I like these type of games. I like playing these type of games, even though I do admit that this one certainly tested my patience in the first 2 to 3 hours. I wasn't necessarily enjoying the experience, but I enjoyed the conclusion more than the introduction. So it is worth it if you give it time. And I do think there is a place for games like this, especially based on movies, even classic movies. I think you could really do it. Was this the right choice? It's an unusual choice, but it does kind of work. But I think the game has a distinct lack of polish, and it does have some pacing issues. But I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's worth it if you put the time into it. The price point, a little bit too expensive, I would say. If they'd have maybe shaved off £10 on this in its price, I think it would have been a fairer price point. As it stands, I think it was something like $34.99 I paid for this. I think it's a little bit overpriced, but if you're a fan of this type of game, it's one to maybe wait for in a sale, because I think you will certainly enjoy it. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I will of course be back with more content on the channel very, very soon.